Imagine a world where people sell sweets online and that they lie to their customers by telling them that they have creatine inside them. Imagine that they make millions of dollars doing this. They completely get away with it whilst fooling their audiences.
5 grams of creatine.
5 grams of creatine.
You get 5 grams of creatine.
2 months ago, I unveiled a multi-million-pound scam, including creatine gummies. I didn't think the situation could get worse, but it's not just worse, it's bad. For those of you that didn't watch the last video, creatine has many benefits.
The best science seems to say that you'd probably gain something around 2 to 3 extra pounds or 1 to 1.5 extra kilos of lean mass. Creatine can also help you build muscle about 1/3 faster. So if it would have taken you 5 months to add 5 pounds of muscle before, creatine could help you do it in 3.5 months instead.
5 grams of creatine monohydrate every day, and timing doesn't matter, is gonna sort you out.
Administering 5 grams of creatine every day to a lot of people is just too much. To some people, they would much rather have a delicious gummy to get their creatine quota up. And then instead of having to carry around a bag of white powder that you can mix in with water and drink it, you could just eat sweets every day and it would be beneficial to your health and your composition. I get it. There are even more companies making millions of pounds. And what they don't realize is I've tested them all. We're going to look at how much creatine is really in each brand's gummies compared to what their claims are. We're going to look at falsified claims that some of these businesses are making. But before we get into it, we just need to ask ourselves a question. Is it actually possible to get the amount of creatine that you need on a daily basis into nice tasting gummies that people can take? As the popularity of creatine gummies increases, whether it's through Amazon or TikTok Shop, I'm going to get to the bottom of whether or not these creatine gummies actually have any creatine in them. So today, these are going to be sent off to the lab for testing.
$300 a pop. Good.
$300 a go. US. God. Things I do for the people, eh? Making videos like this comes with legal repercussions. I've been sued, threatened with legal. It comes with the territory of calling out BS. So I thought I'd just remind some of the businesses that I'm going to be mentioning in this video. If you wish to take me to court, fine. I'll be bringing the Eurofins test with me, and I've got stockpiles of stock of your products, which I'll happily bring to court as well. Any of you that threaten me with legal or cease and desists, they're probably going to find their way to my Instagram story pretty fast. So let the games begin. Now, just before we get into the results, that previous company, Overload, who even put out a statement saying that they were going to investigate what exactly had happened with their gummies, you would at least think that their last batch of the cherry cola gummies would contain creatine. So not only did I test the cherry cola flavor once, I tested it twice, and both times, little to no creatine found. Now, I'm not sure if you believe in coincidences, but another brand cropped up a few days after my last video and started running paid ads all across America. Conveniently, these paid ads weren't put across my 2 biggest territories of following, being Australia and the United Kingdom. The brand changed its name, and of course, I've ordered some of those too, and they will be going off to testing. Now, the packaging has changed, the branding is very similar, but what leads me to believe that this could be the same company is they've conveniently made the same spelling mistakes in the same area of the product. And although I don't have the results on those gummies just yet, I can't help but think that I've been shortchanged with the amount of gummies purported on the side of the packet. And for any of those companies in question, if you rebrand or pop up as another convenient business within a few days, it's not very hard to find this, to track this, and to see your adverts. Now, there is some positive news. There are some companies that are legitimate, that do have the right amount of creatine in their gummies. So why don't we get into the results? We are kicking things off with my good friends Overload. The cherry cola. Fan favorite, anticipated. Sample weight, 3 grams. Creatine monohydrate, 0.019. Less than 2% of the required amount, which is fine. All you need to do is take 50 servings, which would be well over 100 gummies to get your RDA of creatine for the day. It's not looking good, bruv. But James, what if you got a bad batch? Don't worry, we tested them twice. What about this batch? Any better? Again, delivering less than 2% of the claimed creatine. Enter into the mix Gains Nutrition Blue Raspberry flavor. It contains barely 1% of what's claimed, even worse than the other 2 you tested. Unique Physique Creatine Gummies, strawberry. It's about the same here. That's what Overload said. Less than 2% creatine. Create Blue Raspberry flavor. It's nice to see an actual wallop. 3 gummies contains 3.25 creatine. Now, some of you may notice there's another thing here called creatinine, which sometimes creatine can be converted into. Unfortunately, that means it's of no use. Yeah, it's a waste byproduct that forms when creatine breaks down. So in some cases, if we're seeing slightly less creatine and more creatinine, it just means that we're experiencing a bit of wastage. There could have been more creatine in there in the beginning. I'll tell you what's interesting. Every time we Google a creatine gummy brand, you'll notice that there's this brand here called Push. They seem to be very pushy with their paid ads, don't they? Create here claim, each gummy contains 1.5 grams of creatine. Nearly, just over 1 gram per gummy. But it's better than everywhere else. Here we have Wellboost Creatine Gummies, Strawberry Banana. Again, when I Google this company, it just seems that this company called Push, which are probably the most popular creatine gummy brand in Australia and New Zealand. And Wellboost, let's just say that your branding is a bit mad. Your gummies don't look too appealing. He is on steroids, 100%. But you contain creatine. Fair play. Nice to see a serving size above the 5 grams, the elixir, the efficacious amount of creatine necessary for the gains. My Vitamins Creatine Gummies Lemon Flavor. Again, that brand called Push. 3 grams of creatine per serving. And you know what? Fair play. You're not lying. Ronseal does what it says on the tin. Probably that little 0.5 was broken down into creatinine, but we'll take it. Since we started this project, Push Gummies very conveniently put up something on their Facebook talking about how Push Gummies are tested. Testing is a top priority for us. We're committed to delivering the highest quality gummies possible. Great. This is the interesting part. For creatine content, we test with the world-leading facility Eurofins, which is who I've tested your gummies with. And Eurofins has developed the modified USP creatine monograph, specifically for pectin-based gummies. Cool. Pectin-based gummies are your vegan types of gummies, and we'll get into that in a second and the importance. You say here that every batch of Push Gummies has consistently met or slightly exceeded the intended creatine dose. We're fully transparent with our results and publish each batch report on the testing website. This is where things get interesting. It's important to note that standard creatine tests were originally developed for powders and biological tissues. So you're saying these methods aren't suitable for pectin-based gummies and may inaccurately show no creatine present. So this is where things get interesting. I think and assume that you are trying to deflect allegations here, and I'll explain why. First of all, a few of your reports that you put on your website have redacted QR codes. And as we saw from the previous video, these forms, when you share them, must be shown in their entirety for them to be valid. Not only that, you're saying that you use a certain way of testing because other tests are inaccurate. But several of the other brands in which I tested also use pectin, the same thing that you're saying interferes with the detection of creatine. If the testing method was inconsistent, why is it that other brands with pectin-based gummies the same as your own showed very clearly and evident that there was creatine in the gummies? Why is it that when creatine is in another brand's pectin gummy, we can detect it using our method of testing, but when we tested yours, we can't? I've liaised with some other people conducting these same tests, and we're using a method called HPCL, and the other people in question are using one called UPCL, high pressure and ultra high pressure. Now, I will admit, between our testing and their testing, we both identify relatively small discrepancies in the amount of creatine detected in each gummy. But it's clear as day and consistent across all the data we have that we can determine very easily whether or not there is creatine inside a gummy or there isn't. Even if this method of detecting creatine was inaccurate, how do you explain that other pectin gummies show up very clearly, very close to the amounts that they purport, why yours wouldn't show any, and why consistently across data, it is very apparent there is less than 2% of creatine in a gummy, or nearly 100%. I would agree that between different testing methods, the exact amount of creatine would vary, but I completely disagree that a creatine gummy with the right amount of creatine in it would show as none detected. So Push Gummies out there, if you're watching this, I ask you to publicly explain that to me and everyone else that's buying your product. If this certain type of testing does not work with pectin-based creatine gummies, then why is it we were able to detect creatine in the other pectin-based gummies incredibly easily using the method you state that doesn't work? Let's get back into it. Now, the issue that I have with Push is, my missus bought your gummies. She liked your branding. She got slammed with your paid ads. My missus's friends have been buying your gummies, been smashed with your paid ads. A lot of people I know, family, friends, have been taking Push Gummies. It would be very disappointing if these didn't contain the amount you needed. Creatine monohydrate is delicious, convenient gummies, sugar-free, gluten-free, and vegan. Enjoy 3 gummies a day, at any time, every day. Each bag contains 90 gummies, which is a 1-month supply of 5 grams of creatine per day. Is it? Let's start with your strawberry flavor. Less than 2.3%. These are $60 a bag. $60 a bag. What about your apple flavor? Less than 2.5%. Now there's an issue here. You either know or you don't know. And I'm not sure which scenario is worse, because you either knowingly are selling sweets with insane markups, or you don't know and you've not done the due diligence necessary on your providers, on your manufacturers. Some of you might remember that when we did the overload video a few months ago, there was a company called No Nutrition that went public and they'd done their own testing, but I went to test the people that did the testing because sometimes whoever smelt it dealt it, and whoever said the rhyme did the crime. No Nutrition, creatine gummies, peach flavor. 3,400 milligrams creatine monohydrate. And the survey says 3.23. And you know what? To me, that's okay. No nutrition coming in with the legitness. It's what we like to see. It's just very, very interesting. Everyone should proceed with caution online for something too good to be true. So as we can see, this is the issue. So supplement creatine gummies, blueberry flavor. As we can see here, there's no bloody creatine in them. Sales data says £250,000 this month. Jesus, that's crazy. Unique physique creatine gummies, 104,000 pounds on a product that doesn't contain anywhere near the amount of creatine it's supposed to. That's a lot of money in recurring revenue for products that, according to the testing, don't have any creatine in them. I'll tell you what's worrying is there's even a brand of creatine gummies here that I've bought that I can't even see online. It's like, whose are these? I've been eating them and there's not even a company name on there. What have I been putting in my body? You could just put things in a tub and sell them online. Mad. So to summarize, we're going to take the brands and we're going to explain whether or not they contain creatine in the gummies or not. Let's, for argument's sake, say for anything less than 0.2 grams of creatine, we'll say non-detectable. Overload claimed 4.5 grams. They had 0.0849 grams. Non-detectable. Gains Nutrition, 3 grams, they claimed. 0.0473 grams, result not detectable. Unique Physique claimed 5 grams, 0.0932 grams, result was non-detectable. Create, 4.5 grams claimed, 3.25 grams, 72%. Well Boost claimed 5 grams, and they had 5.55 grams, so they had 111%. Supplement claimed 5 grams, 0.125 grams, less than 2.5%. Result, non-detectable. My Vitamins claimed 3 grams, they had 2.59, 86%. No Nutrition claimed 3 grams, and they had 2.84 grams, which is 95%. So for those two that are at that 95, 86%, we can maybe give it a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, look at the testing, maybe not being 100% accurate. That's got creatine in. Push Strawberry claimed 5 grams, 0.102 grams, less than 2%, result non-detectable. Push Apple Flavored claimed 5 grams, 0.122 grams, less than 2.2%, result not detectable. It's very clear looking at this data. You can see when something has creatine, you can see when something doesn't have creatine. Now, as I've said before, there's 2 scenarios. Either the people selling these gummies know that there's no creatine in them, and I don't need to say that that is a terrible thing. But the alternate scenario, where they have no idea there's no creatine in their product, is equally just as bad. From my own personal experiences, taking creatine gummies, I've come to determine one thing. If there is 5 grams of creatine powder inside the gummies, you can usually taste it and feel the slight grittiness in it. But as for these, and a few of the other brands that we've tasted, that doesn't taste like creatine. That tastes like a massive waste of money. The most expensive sweets I've ever had.